Welcome into Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. Jeffrey Cooperstein here with you guys. Round one has come and gone. And if you've lived under a rock for the last 2 months, even you would know that the Mavericks have selected Cooper Flagg with the number one overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft. But that isn't the only thing that has come down from tonight's festivities. Mavericks GM Nico Harrison met with the media after to discuss everything surrounding the Mavericks and Cooper Flagg. And he finally, publicly, for the first time, came out and said, Jason Kidd is going to be the Mavericks head coach next season. Why did this take so long for Nico Harrison to come out and say this? The New York Knicks have been poking around, have been trying to see if there's still a possibility of Jason Kidd becoming their head coach, even though they were denied permission to formally interview Kidd for their head coaching position. I don't know why this was so hard. I don't know why this had to be a whole dramatic thing with all the rumors coming out there and whatnot. All it would have taken was a simple, yep, Jason's going to be our coach next year. And that's that. Look, Jason Kidd has 2 years left on his contract. I don't think the Mavericks need to extend him this offseason, despite Billy Donovan and Ime Udoka both getting their extensions done this season to fend off other suitors like the New York Knicks. The Knicks also requested permission from James Borrego today. So they finally have moved on from Jason Kidd. And Kidd and Nico have been together since they hired him in the summer of 2021. They're going into their fifth season as Mavericks head coach and GM, respectively. And I'm glad that this is kind of over with and we have some certainty now. I just don't know why it took this long in order to get that certainty. But I'm glad that Jason Kidd's going to be here next season, even if his coaching staff is going to look very different. And look, they're going to have at least 3 or 4 guys that are going to be ended up leaving. Sean Sweeney already left for the San Antonio Spurs. Jared Dudley reportedly leaving the Mavericks for an upward position with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Alex Jensen took the head coaching job at the University of Utah. God Shamgod may be on his way to Orlando to go take an upward role with the Orlando Magic. Right now, he's the Mavericks ball handling coach with Orlando. He might end up being an on-the-bench assistant for them, so he'd be getting a promotion there with our former friend Jamal Mosley over there with the Magic. Mark Stein had this to say as well on the future of the Mavericks coaching staff, and he thinks Frank Vogel will be asked at least about his willingness to move into Sean Sweeney's chair as head assistant for the Mavericks. But Vogel has been hesitant and comfortable to stay in a consulting role while awaiting his next head coaching opportunity. Vogel is not being interviewed by the New York Knicks at this point, so he won't be getting a head coaching job at least in this cycle, but next cycle, certainly he could be in the mix for the Mavericks. He was a 2020 NBA champ. And furthermore, he's been a guy that's been absolutely magnificent as a coach in this league, both with the Indiana Pacers and with the Los Angeles Lakers. So, look, I think this is all good for the Mavericks, and they're going to fill out their coaching staff around Cooper Flagg, who we'll talk about here in just a moment. But before we do, I want to ask you guys, are you happy that Jason Kidd is returning as Mavericks head coach? Let me know down there in the comment section. Type Y for yes or type N for no. I'm absolutely thrilled that J Kidd is going to be there. And look, I think that Jason Kidd is a very underappreciated head coach, if I'm being honest with you guys. I think Kidd is one of the better head coaches in this league. I think there is a reason that the New York Knicks wanted to interview Jason Kidd because they have so much respect for him and they believe in his abilities to be a head coach in this league. Jason Kidd, I believe, is one of the better coaches in the league. He knows how to relate to star players. He knows how to get the best out of his teams. He knows how to motivate guys. I really believe Jason Kidd is going to be the Mavericks head coach for the next few years, at least 2 years left on the deal. Maybe he signs that extension. Go get hooked up with our friends at Fanatics today. When you go to chatsports.com/2025 draft hats, you can get this dope Mavericks hat today. You can also go to chatsports.com/Mavs draft and get your Mavs draft hat. We have the blue one. We have the white one with the blue brim as well. Get the hat that Cooper Flagg was wearing once he walked across that stage. It's chatsports.com/2025 draft hats. Go get yours today. Shout out to Fanatics for sponsoring today's show. The Mavericks obviously selected Cooper Flagg with the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NBA draft, and I'm glad it's finally over and we can start talking about Cooper Flagg, the Dallas Maverick. The man out of Newport, Maine, 18 and a half years old, doesn't turn 19 until the middle of December, coming in at almost 6'8" and 220 pounds. He averaged 19 points and 7.5 rebounds on 48% shooting, 38.5% from three-point range last year. Also, a block and a half and a steal and a half per game Cooper Flagg had at Duke. And as Kevin O'Connor of The Ringer said, he is the best offensive and defensive prospect in this draft this year. And whether or not he becomes a Hall of Famer will have to do on his growth as a shot creator. People think his floor is an all-star caliber player. And when you have a floor of being an all-star, what more can you say about that? This is one of the most dynamic prospects that has come across the board in the last decade or so. And the Mavericks were super fortunate to be able to get him with that 1.8% chance. I really can't believe it. I can't believe that the Mavericks got the chance to select this guy. I'm very glad he's here. He seemed very excited to be a Maverick in the stuff that he said in his first initial interview with Dallas media over in New York after he walked across the stage. Very, very excited to see what the Mavericks do with Cooper Flagg at the helm. The Mavericks do not have a pick tomorrow, but there is potential they could trade back in. If they were to trade back in, I think you'd be looking at a point guard. Although, if you could get a guy like Rasheer Fleming, Adou Thiero, I think Tyrese Proctor would be a great selection for the Dallas Mavericks if they could go out and get him. Cam Jones out of Marquette, he's a guy who's played 4 years in college basketball, very experienced, a true point guard. Javon Small out of West Virginia, not sure he really fits what the Mavs would like to do. Kobe Sanders out of Nevada, I think would be a really good pick as well. He's the number 14th ranked guard on Rolly's big board. Mark Sears, I would love Mark Sears. I was a big Alabama basketball fan last year. Loved the way they played the game. Mark Sears looks like Jalen Brunson, plays like Jalen Brunson. Could the Mavs find the next Jalen Brunson in Mark Sears? Ryan Nembhard out of Gonzaga, the brother of Andrew Nembhard, who played for the Indiana Pacers in the 2025 NBA Finals. Could be an option for the Mavericks as well. And if you remember, in the second round, you don't have to directly trade for one of those picks. You can just go to a certain team. Let's say the Clippers have pick number 45 or whatever the case may be. You can go to that team, write them a check for $2-3 million, whatever you agree on, and you get that pick. So you don't actually have to give up any assets in order to acquire a second round pick. Now the Mavericks I believe it's like $1.7 million below the second apron. So that's how much they could spend on a potential draft pick there in the second round. I would put it at less than 50% that the Mavericks do make a selection tomorrow, but you never know. It's certainly possible. And if they do, I just say look out for guards because that's their biggest need right now. With Kyrie out for the first 55-60% of the season, Brandon Williams, the only true point guard on the roster, if they were to make a move, I do think it would be for a guard. I know a lot of you wanted Walter Clayton, the guard out of Florida. He ended up going in the high teens, so the Mavs weren't able to go pick him up. But again, you're looking at Tyrese Proctor, maybe a Cam Jones. I would throw Mark Sears as well, the guard out of Alabama, as the three guys. Maybe Ryan Nembhard as well, as the guys that I would target if I were the Mavericks. And I saw an opportunistic way to get back into the second round next year. Once again, Cooper Flagg is the Maverick, man. I'm just extremely excited that the Mavs were able to win the lottery, get the number 1 overall pick, and they were able to change their franchise after what was an absolutely tumultuous second half of the season. But let me know what you guys think. Tomorrow, the second half of the draft, the second round of the draft begins. Remember, there's only 29 picks because I believe this year it was the Knicks was it the Knicks or the Sixers? Can't remember who got caught for tampering, but there's only 59 picks. Do you want the Mavs to trade back into the draft? And if so, let me know who down there in the comment section. I'm open to it. I just don't think they necessarily need to. But if I would, it would be one of those guards that we talked about. That will be it for today's show, guys. Appreciate you for tuning in to Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. It's youtube.com/MavsTV. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys soon here on the channel.